Light FM. That is Gloria Estefan there. I'm Morning Dave. We're at 8:41 now. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. And that legal beagle means we're back to the regular cast. Philip Statler from Statler Financial Services is back in the saddle to help us get through a look at what's going on with your money this morning. And Philip, I think it was pretty much all good news yesterday on the markets, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, Dave. First, let me just wish everybody a happy new year. I know I was out for a little while celebrating Joyce and mine's 44th wedding anniversary, so we took a little cruise, and so glad to be back today. This is my first day for 2026. So excited to get the new year started. And it looks like the market was excited to get started yesterday as well.
Evidently. I've got to pause, though, for a second. 44 years. Happy anniversary. I didn't realize you were that old.
I try not to look at it.
Touche. Yeah, the market was really happy. We were talking before we went on the air yesterday morning when I was doing the futures. I was looking at things, and everybody was really, really tentative. I mean, the oil stocks were going up, but beyond that, the market as a whole, it wasn't looking bad, but it was looking real tentative. It was almost like investors were waiting to see whether or not neighboring South American countries were going to blow up in our face, whether or not China and Russia were going to get saber-rattling angry over the Maduro capture and all of that. And when nothing happened, and really the only naysayers that I'm really hearing about the Maduro capture are the Democrats in Congress, which opposition party you'd expect. Everybody started buying everything like it was chiclets yesterday once they found out there weren't going to be any ill effects.
Well, that's right. I got to think that, the precision of accuracy that the Trump used and the DEA used has to have been a benefit, right? Because there was not near the loss of life that you would anticipate in a thing like that. And so that's reflected, I think, in yesterday's market numbers is that there was no ill effect and that ultimately that this will be a good thing coming spike. And so the stocks liked it. And at this point, no earnings are coming out. They need anything they can to hang their hat on to get a little bump up.
Yeah, and I think there was another even more macro element to that. The fact that the raid was pulled off with such precision. There's always that level of doubt that with new people in charge and whatnot, Hegseth is not exactly, an experienced general with the military and our, Department of Defense. It's just kind of reassurance that, with the people we got in charge, we actually can do something precise and successful with our military now with the people we currently have in charge. And that might have been a little bit of an overall reassurance to the world as well, and that probably impacted on the markets as well. Hey, these guys do have their poop in a group.
Hey, interesting fact. I mean, not a fact, but just I found it interesting being on the boat when that happened. We had access to Fox, CNN, and BBC. And I switched over to the BBC to see what the international outlook was. And it was pretty much positive. I didn't really catch much negative at all through that international source. And so I thought that was interesting as well.
Like I said, the quietude from the rest of the world, kind of something we already probably knew anyway. Ain't nobody likes Maduro.
Exactly.
He has very few friends. Net result was yesterday the Dow climbed 595 points, set a new closing record, up 1.25%. Standard & Poor's was up 43.5. Nasdaq was up almost 0.7%, and the Russell 2000 was the big gainer of all of them. It was up 1.58% yesterday. So it was pretty much a universal vote that, okay, cool, now let's go forward from a higher level. So I'm calling that all pretty good news. And like you said, absent any other news, we got a positive response to the Maduro capture out of the Wall Street people yesterday.
We did, and I'll look at this. We are less than 3% away from 50,000 on the Dow.
Wow. I hadn't even done that's just borderline amazing. Well, all the big brokerage firms are bullish on 2026, which certainly didn't hurt the start for trading anyway. Looking at the oil stocks, and they were obviously going to be the big gainers. Chevron shares were up as much as 6% on Monday. ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips gained ground, and so did the oil service companies. You've got to expect that Halliburton, who kind of specializes in fixing oil wells, SLB, Baker Hughes, all of those are expecting good things because they're expecting contracts to be able to repair the Venezuelan superstructure to their oil wells because they've pretty much gone to seed under the Maduro regime. They do say it's going to take years for companies to be able to repair all that infrastructure, which when we get to the price of crude oil probably explains the fact there wasn't much of a movement at all on that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, crude oil's been kind of hanging in that, I don't know, kind of that trading range of $56 to $59 a barrel. And it kind of has been staying there. And I noticed when we got off the boat yesterday to come home, I had to fill it with gas. And even downtown Miami, I paid $2.85 a gallon. So you can't complain about that.
Not one tiny little bit. I was saying yesterday while I was soloing, it's going to be interesting this week. We're actually going to get some current data out of the government. It's employment week, so this is pretty much going to be the last day in which we've got a relatively slow news day to talk about.
It is. I keep forgetting this is Tuesday and not Monday. So, but auto sales came out yesterday after you got off the radio, and I found this a good news really because it was up almost 1 million more units in the month of December than it was in the month of November. 16.4 million auto sales. So that was some good news, I think, on the auto front.
I think so. GM was a little fly in the ointment on the fourth quarter sales because they dipped a little bit, but their sales for the full year were up 5.5%, and I haven't been able to say this in about 10 years. General Motors is now the top U.S. automaker. Wow, I haven't been able to say that in a while. Have you?
No, haven't not at all. Hey, I'm looking forward a little bit, Dave, to the unemployment rate expected on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The expectation is for it to climb to 4.7. We're getting closer to that 5% number.
And that's obviously not good news. The week is going to be a big one because we're going to get mortgage applications, JOLTS reports for job openings and whatnot for that's going to come out tomorrow. We're going to get the Challenger job cuts on Thursday, the initial jobless claims, and then, like I was saying, just to be novel about it, current data on Friday. We're going to get that non-farm payroll number. Private payroll number is going to come out on Friday as well for some reason from ADP instead of on Wednesday, according to my calendar. And then hourly earnings, and then, like you said, the unemployment rate. I'm seeing it. One of my projections was saying holding steady, but still 4.6% is still a lot higher than we'd like it to be, and 4.7 would be decidedly bad news.
Yeah. So we continue to see that number, and we forgot what a 5% unemployment rate is, right? Because we used to call that full employment, right?
Exactly. I mean, 4% used to be considered overheating. We're only expecting, according to my numbers anyway, 63,000 private payrolls and a total of 55,000 total non-farm payrolls. That would be a really, really anemic number to come out, especially following up on what we had from November. So I kind of wonder if we keep those anemic numbers up and even do what they expect, if that's not going to increase the odds of a Federal Reserve rate cut coming up at the end of the month. Remember, we do have a January meeting log, 27th and 28th of this month, I think is when it's scheduled. So I got to believe that they've got to be looking at that and saying, well, we're going to hold steady unless something bad happens, and I almost think what they're expecting is bad at this point.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see what they have to say when it comes to interest rates at the end of the month. It will be definitely interesting to see, especially given that kind of the expectation for 2026 is that we won't really see an interest rate decrease. If we do, maybe one. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Fed says.
Absolutely, and this is something that you've mentioned three times before you took your break too. There's a change in membership on the Open Market Committee, who's voting, and we really won't know what their instincts are until we see what the minutes look like 3 weeks after this meeting at the end of January, because we don't know for 100% certain whether there's been a shift to the hawkish or the dovish side as far as interest rates on the Open Market Committee.
But that's true. We won't know until we get those numbers. Hey, a little bit of things that, obviously there's no earnings coming through yet. We're a little too early in the season for that, but found this interesting. Under Armour getting a little boost this morning, up almost 5%. Company reported, Fairfax Financial disclosed that they purchased almost 42 million shares. They now own almost 22% of the company.
They must know something we don't know, because Under Armour has not had a good time for the last year, have they?
No, they really haven't. They've really struggled.
Any other tidbits that you hear? Because I've got very little this morning too, because every mainstream item is obviously talking about the Maduro capture, and other than that, market's relatively happy.
We had Microchip Technologies came out, and they obviously their earnings haven't hit yet, but they did revise their third quarter revenue guidance higher by a little bit. From they were at 1.109 billion. Now they've gone to 1.185 billion. So it doesn't sound like a big number, but that's a bigger increase than was anticipated.
Well, that's good to hear. One thing, NVIDIA, we couldn't go a day without mentioning NVIDIA, could we? They've got a new AI platform they've announced for production coming out later on this year, so expect NVIDIA stock to see a darling on the adventurous side of the exchanges anyway. Resetting the table, it was a party time on Wall Street yesterday. 45 minutes before we open this morning, what are we looking at?
Hey, we got a little bit of red ink on the futures anyway. The Dow is down a little over 0.1%. S&P 500 is down about 0.05. The NASDAQ 100 is slightly green, up about 0.06%, and the Russell 2000 down about 0.25. On the other side of the coin, commodity side, we've got silver. Man, it has just gone crazy, up to $78.71 an ounce, up another almost 2.7%. Gold up almost 0.5% to $4,472 an ounce. And then crude oil up a little over 0.8%, $58.81 a barrel right now.
But still inside of that range that you and I were talking about, and if it stays there, we'll all be relatively happy. Looking across the ponds, the Asian Pacific Rim was pretty happy at the end of the day yesterday. 6 a.m. close, everybody was up, even the mainland Chinese markets. Their government put out the obligatory statement about how they thought we were wrong, and then they traded their markets up 1.5% on the Asian Rim. So wasn't all that unhappy they were. Over in Europe, things are a little more circumspect, but everything is green. Halfway through the European trading day, we're up by about 1/3% pretty well across the board. The UK is up by over 1% halfway through. Getting my retirement together so I got some stability, that takes an expert pair of eyes. How do I get a hold of yours to make sure that my retirement can stay on track or get there in the first place?
David, the beginning of the year is a great time to make sure that you've got things put together properly for your retirement. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement analysis. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m., 95.3 FM.
And back here again tomorrow morning, 2 in a row. I'm not sure I can cope with this, Philip.
Hey, man, you have a great day. I look forward to it.
Thank you, my friend. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Philip Statler.
Look, thank you for joining us today. Have a great day. I look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye now.